Bayley stuns everyone to get the upper hand. El Grande Americano has the hardest head in WWE and did a chair shot. Just bring back the authority. Just keep watching. This was the last Raw before WrestleMania, so let's just keep it real and start with the matches to just keep finding your flock as Lyra Valkyria holds on tight to Bayley like a mother bird to stop an oblivion, and then Bayley gets a jackknife cover for the win. So Bayley is the ones, and this was a solid match until she stunned everyone when she landed a stunner on Liv and followed that up with a Bayley to belly before Raquel Rodriguez put Liv's foot on the bottom rope, so this is a 1-week suspension for Raquel. And even though Lyra tried to get involved, she failed to take out Raquel, but Bayley did the trick to hang her up on the ropes. However, this gave Liv just enough time to land a backstabber, and she went for that oblivion, but Lyra was there for the save, so Bayley gets the win to go to 2-4 in one-on-one matches, and she has the momentum going into Mania. And that makes Liv the twos, and she had a nice suplex off of the steel steps early on to the floor, and then a codebreaker from the apron that sent Bayley back to the floor, but she drops to 2 and 3 in one-on-one matches. I guess for a tag bout that just came about on Friday, this had some really strong impassioned in-ring work, and perhaps we'll see a good one on Sunday, so this one gets an okay. Second, we just keep sailing down the Rey O'Grande as Rey Mysterio temporarily stops El Grande Americano's distraction and sends Julius into him to land a 619, and then he dropped the dime for the win, so Rey is the ones as he serves some early shenanigans when Brutus distracted the ref from the apron, and then Chad Gable yanked his legs off of the top rope. But fortunately, the LWO did not back down, so Dragon Lee did the same thing to Julius, and then with everyone on the apron, the ref ejected all of them from both American Made and the LWO, so we have to give Gable and Brutus fines for instigating, and then everybody else gets 1-week suspensions, plus Gable and Brutus as well get their second ones. I thought this was a dubious call here by the ref, but it has to stand. And then after all of that, we had El Grande Americano's interference, but Rey still came out on top, so he goes to 3 and 2 in one-on-one matches and heads into the match on Saturday versus El Grande Americano with some momentum. But that makes Julius the twos, and he showed some good athleticism here, but he couldn't keep up with Rey's veteran savvy, so he loses his first one-on-one match on the main roster, which is pretty crazy since he debuted all the way back in October of 2023, though he and Brutus at least participated in one battle royal over that time, so this was not their first singles match of any type. Well, El Grande Americano must have been annoyed by getting knocked off of the apron, so he loaded up that mask yet again and attacked Rey from behind and took out the entire LWO with his head, ending with a flying headbutt to Rey. So El Grande Americano has to get a fine for this since he was the only man left that was able to go to the ring. And it was another good in-ring match, but I would have thought Rey would have wanted to save his energy for WrestleMania. However, I guess the Hall of Famer knows himself best, and so for today, this gets an okay. Third, we just keep sacrificing yourself on the cross. I suppose it's a little early in the week for that, but it sure looked like Kross's face was one for giving in to let Styles fly for a phenomenal forearm to take this victory. So Styles is the one as he was finally fired up after Karrion Kross had duped him into thinking he had hurt his ankle. Then that led to him landing his patented flurry of strikes, including that low forearm, and he picks up the win to go to 2 and 0 in one-on-one matches, and then Kross is the twos. And despite not wanting this match, he took advantage of a Scarlet distraction where she washed Styles' face into the ropes, causing Kross to throw Styles into the barricade and then into the timekeeper area, so Scarlet picks up a fine for that. And then later on, he reversed Styles into a DDT, but then missed the crosshammer and missed a win in this match. Though like I said, it seemed like he may have done that on purpose, and he's just 0-1 in 2025, though this was his first one-on-one match since July. But then Logan Paul came onto the ramp and annoyed Styles with a pre-taped video, so Styles said he wants to start the WrestleMania match early. So then Karrion Kross tried to attack him from behind as Paul was making his way to the ring, but Styles countered with an inverted DDT. But this gave Paul just enough time to land his big right and then the pulverizer. And surprisingly, there's no fine for Paul here, as Styles wanted him to fight, but not the case for Kross, as he will get a fine. What's in Karrion Kross's mind is always a mystery, but it is to be determined if his mind games have worked to get Styles in the proper headspace for Sunday. And this was two pretty rusty men inside the ring, so it gets a not okay. And in the main event, we just keep breaking up a Balor win, as Finn Balor took advantage of a Judgment Day distraction with a sling blade and a dropkick, but Braun Breaker ran out and clotheslined Balor before he could do the coup de grace, so this ends in a no contest. But we'll give Balor the ones here, as he had a nice headlock elbow on the apron and then traded sling blades with Penta later on. Though I have to say, I think this is the wrong decision made by the WWE here, because after the bell rang, Breaker's eyes were only on the Judgment Day, who had attacked him backstage just before the match, throwing him into two equipment boxes before officials broke it up. And Breaker didn't disappoint, because he landed a double spear on both Dom and Carlito, but then Penta stopped another spear in its tracks with several kicks and then a crossbody to clear everybody from the ring. So our STFs in order: first we have a 1-week suspension for Balor, Dom, and Carlito for their backstage attack, then a 1-week suspension for Breaker for forcing the no contest, and that leaves Balor winless at 0-3-1 in one-on-one matches. And so Penta is the twos, and he also gets a fine because he drop-kicked Balor off of the apron and then landed a tope con hilo during Balor's entrance. And later on, he had a nice tilt-a-whirl backbreaker and then a sacrifice, but he could not connect on the Penta driver, so he has to settle for a no contest in a 6-1-1 in one-on-one matches. This was obviously disappointing by this one not getting an actual decision either way, but I have to say the Judgment Day at least seems to be on the same page leading into WrestleMania, so maybe at least one of them will get an easy win on Sunday. But for tonight, the no contest makes this not okay. And with that, let's go beyond the mat for Raw, where we had yet another 4-match card, but at least we will get 7 matches for WrestleMania. But Gunther started this one off as he cut off Michael Cole from an interview, and he very passionately said that he is the greatest gift this company has ever had. And very much like Cody Rhodes said on Friday night, the bell has to ring at some point, and when it does, Jey cannot lace his boots, and he will put him down for the 4th time. And he also noted that he never lost control and was in full control and loved it 2 weeks ago when Jimmy was a bloody mess. Well, I have to say I love this side of Gunther, and after some doubts last week, it looks like he is ready to retain, so he gets a double okay. But later on, Jey stood on top of the announce table, said that he's crashing out, but is locked in, and I'm not sure if those two things actually go together. But then he also said that Gunther must now be afraid of him, and he's going to whip him at WrestleMania. And I'm not sure how he deduced that after what Gunther had said to start the show, so this gets a double not okay. We had a triple threat of pre-taped segments by Bianca, Rhea, and Io, and the only real interesting note here amongst all 3 of them was that Bianca said that this has brought out a different version of her, but she is speaking the truth. But Rhea noted that Bianca's made her seem like the bad guy, but Io said that she is the reason that they're all fighting and that they will both have to go through her. It is pretty unbelievable that we couldn't get any of these 3 women in person before this incredibly important match, so no matter what they said, it gets a double not okay. The War Raiders also only got a pre-taped segment, and they said that the New Day took things to a new level because they tried to end their careers, so instead of just a match, this is war. But then Jackie interviewed the New Day, and they said that they've been at war the entire time, which I guess is something, but it's also not okay. And lastly, we had the final face-to-face between Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and CM Punk, with Reigns clearly upset with the wise man after he saw Punk with his arm around him, as Reigns belatedly, per usual, arrived to the arena, so that caused Reigns to ignore him once they were in the ring, and he intentionally bumped into Heyman and then grabbed his own mic instead of taking the one from Paul. So then Reigns finally decided to address him, and he asked him why that Heyman betrayed him. So Heyman, of course, said that he was just paying back a favor, which everyone knows is the case, except for Reigns, because, you know, not too bright up there. But regardless, Reigns said that he was the only one getting screwed, and he never asked for a favor or help, even though he was clearly going to get destroyed at War Games in a 4-on-5 match, so I don't think he was objecting to the help. Regardless, Rollins then came out and he said that he would still have to end Reigns at WrestleMania because it was the right thing to do. And Rollins made some good points and some ridiculous points, so let's start with those bad ones when he called this the most important triple threat match in WrestleMania history because the winner will define the future of this industry. Come on, Seth, what is that, man? At least Cody Rhodes and Gunther both realize that you have to go out and win matches once the bell rings. And if Rollins thinks that this one match that has absolutely no stakes to it, no titles on the line, defines everything, I think that he's the one that's a little crazy in the head. But I suppose he needs to hype up both himself and this entire match, but no, I need you to go back to my video from a couple weeks ago where I ranked the top 10 most important WrestleMania triple threats since WrestleMania 30. And yeah, spoiler alert, I ranked this one number 10 out of all 10 of those. But then Rollins turned things around because he was right when he said that the WWE cannot be about Roman Reigns because he does not show up except when it's convenient. And I am really happy when someone on the TV actually says what I've been trying to tell all of you stupid idiots for months and months, so maybe you should listen to me a little bit more. And then he also said that the WWE cannot be about CM Punk because he is someone that takes his ball and goes home and then comes back to leech off of others' successes. Which I have to say is also a really good point. Not as good as the Reigns one, but awfully good. So then he said that it should be him because he sacrifices his well-being to do what is best for business. Where have I heard that saying before? So he ended by calling Heyman both dishonorable and a scumbag and expects nothing from him, saying that Heyman made his choice and he chose Punk over Reigns. To which Reigns actually replied that Rollins is right, telling Heyman that he did make his choice and then Reigns made his. And I guess his choice was clotheslining Rollins and then throwing him into the ring post. So Reigns will get a fine, and then he went back to Heyman and pushed him into the mat, which caused CM Punk to run out, and he toppled Reigns over the top rope. And then when he went to check on Heyman, Reigns recovered and speared Punk, and then grounded and pounded him until Rollins came back into the ring and hit him with a chair shot to the back. And no, I don't have to tell you because Michael Cole was actually smart enough to pick up on this, that it was reminiscent of his chair shot to Reigns when he turned on the Shield. So I guess we can say that Rollins' head is where it was all those years ago with that chair shot, with saying the phrase best for business, and with having a pretty strange fashion choice where his outfit looked a lot like the Shield's tactical gear. And then Rollins put an exclamation mark on all of it by stomping both Punk and Reigns to end the show. So, oh man, I think Rollins looked like he's ready to be the authority after these last 2 weeks, and he has to be both the mental and physical leader going into night one's main event. And for that, Seth, I have to give this a double okay. And even though Rollins landed that chair shot with authority, the bell will still ring at WrestleMania this weekend, and we'll see if that favor pays off. But if you miss Cody Rhodes telling Cena that the bell will ring on SmackDown, be sure to go over here and check out all my grades. And if you don't, just like Dean Ambrose being MIA when we really need him the most, this one gets a not okay.